Hello friends, I have a story for you called I Want to Be an Astronaut. Do you know what an astronaut is? Can you look at the picture and think about what an astronaut's job might be like? What kinds of things do you think an astronaut does? The author is Byron Barton, and since there's only one name, that means Byron Barton is probably the illustrator too. Do you know what an illustrator does? An illustrator is the person who makes the pictures, and an author is the person who writes the words. Let's find out what it's like to be an astronaut. I want to be an astronaut. A member of the crew. And fly on the shuttle. Can you take a look at this picture? What do you think a shuttle is? What is the shuttle? Maybe you've heard that word before and maybe you haven't. A shuttle, if I'm looking at the picture, I have a clue, is a spaceship or a space shuttle. Into outer space. If this space shuttle is flying up into outer space, what do you think that this is that it's looking down on? If an astronaut is in a space shuttle in outer space, what do you think when they see when they look out the window? They see the Earth. They see the Earth where we live. I want to be up there. Here they are looking down on the Earth out the window. On a space mission. Take a look at the astronauts in the space shuttle. What kinds of things do you think that they do when they're up in outer space? Astronauts are a type of scientist. And so when they're up in outer space in the space shuttle, floating around with no gravity, they do all kinds of experiments. They experiment with different kinds of medicine. They experiment growing plants on the space shuttle. They also experiment and find out what happens to people's bodies when there's no gravity or the force that makes us stay on the ground when we're on Earth. And have ready-to-eat meals. So astronauts' food looks a lot different than the food that we eat on Earth. A lot of the food that they have is dried, and they have to add water to it to make it wet. So they have dried vegetables and they add water, and it makes it look a little bit more like the food that we would eat. And sleep in zero gravity. So zero gravity means that there's no force pulling you back down to the ground like we have on Earth. So when you're in outer space, you float around up in the air. So astronauts have to sleep in special kinds of sleeping bags that are attached to a wall or attached to the floor to keep them from floating away. I want to put on a spacesuit and walk around in space. And help fix a satellite. So space shuttles that go on a mission to fix a satellite or something that floats around in outer space and helps us to communicate and find out what's going on up there, the astronauts sometimes have to go out of the space shuttle in their space suits and fix things that are up in space. And build a factory in orbit. Looks like astronauts have a lot of very important jobs. I want to be up there for a while. And then come back down to Earth. Usually astronauts stay up in space for months and months and months at a time, up to 6 months at a time usually. And then they come back down to Earth. I just want to be an astronaut and visit outer space. What a cool kind of job to be an astronaut. Do you think that's a kind of job that you would like to have? It takes a long, long time to become an astronaut and lots of school. But if you work very, very hard, you could be an astronaut too.